Good morning, all my dear children. Hope you are all good. Welcome back. In the last class, I gave you a gist of what all chapters we'll be taking in the book Statistics. And the first chapter in Statistics is about Introduction to Statistics for Economics. Before actually proceeding to the meaning for statistics, we are going to take first the four definitions of economics given by four different economists. If you remember in the very first class for economics, I asked you all who's the father of economics. Some of you did answer me, right? They texted me, and some of you commented on the video also. So, the father of economics is actually Adam Smith. You can see the name here. He's the father of economics, the one who was the founder of microeconomics, also, if you remember. So, the entire science of economics, if you see, its origin can be traced to 1776. This person brought the science of economics through his book. This is a very famous book, like every student of economics is aware about the title of this book, An Inquiry into the Nature and the Causes of Wealth of Nations. So in 1776, he published this book, and from that economics was originated actually. So the science of that's how the first line says the science of economics is not very old. It can be traced back to 1776. So this book you can write here in the register. Okay, in the statistics register, um, I told you all, you can, if you have a separate register, make a separate one. Otherwise, just carry on in your economics register. Just give the heading Chapter 1 Introduction to Statistics. And in the last class, we had talked about some terms: consumption, consumer, producer, service holder, service provider, all these terms: consumption, production, and distribution. These were all discussed in the last class. So, this much I hope you all have done in the registers in statistics. Now you just carry on with whatever we'll be doing today. So this we had already covered in microeconomics. You don't have to repeat it. The word economics was derived from two Greek words, oikos and nemein, which is house management. Earlier it used to be called as political economy. So now the meaning of economics we are going to take by the four different economists. They have developed these various definitions of economists during their course of study, and actually all these definitions do revolve around the same thing, that is science of management actually. How are you going to manage your money? How are you going to utilize your limited resource in the best possible manner? That's what all definition actually rotates around. Okay, so first definition is given by Adam Smith only, and his definition is known as wealth definition. You just need to learn any particular definition, or sometimes they ask in 1 mark, wealth definition is given by which economist, and you are, maybe it is an MCQ though, so you will be given four options: Adam Smith, Marshall, Robbins, Samuelson, and all these things. Otherwise, they can just ask you define economics. I will give you a choice to find economics by any one economist. So you may know any one definition, whichever you find easy and whichever you find sensible enough. Preferably Robbins, I would ask you to learn. So, okay, wealth definition by Adam Smith. According to Adam Smith, economics is the science of wealth. Science of wealth means how are you going to manage your wealth. Here, wealth means money. So, in economics, wealth refers to all those goods. Generally, it means money in the diction. If we go to the ordinary dictionary meaning, in economics, it refers to all those goods which satisfy human wants. So how are you going to manage with those goods? How are you going to decide which goods to go for, which goods not to go for? All those things. So according to Adam Smith, economics is the science of wealth. Hence we call it wealth definition. As he was concerned, as you know, according to his view, economics is concerned with the problems arising from wealth getting, that is goods, getting the goods that satisfy our wants, and using those goods that satisfy our wants. Because here wealth means the goods that satisfy our wants. So he was mainly interested in studying the ways by which the wealth of all the nations could be increased. Second is welfare definition given by Marshall. We are going to study Marshall's theory in microeconomics in the upcoming chapters whenever we'll be taking micro next after maybe first two chapters in statistics. So you should be knowing such some names of economists. These are the renowned economists all over the world. We are studying their theory not just in India but also in all the foreign universities. Their theories are studied by all the students in economics. So second economist is Alfred Marshall. According to Alfred Marshall, economics is the study of man in the ordinary business of life. It inquires how he gets his income and how he uses it. And what do we mean by ordinary business of life? If you remember in the last class, we discussed consuming, producing, then distributing all those goods. So that's the ordinary business of life. So how a man takes all these decisions of what to consume, how much to produce, how to distribute all those goods in the economy, that's economics according to him. So that's how it says economics is a study of man in the ordinary business of life. Then it inquires how he gets his income and how he uses it. So that's the second definition of economics. In the register, you write all four definitions. Wealth definition and welfare definition we have covered as of now. Let's go to the third definition, scarcity definition given by Robbins. Lionel Robbins, or you may some I have heard some videos they also pronounce Lionel Robbins. Okay, according to Professor Lionel Robbins, economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relation between ends. Ends means like satisfaction of our wants. That's the end. What is going to be finally the end? The satisfaction of all human wants. And scarce means which have alternate uses. So it is the science which studies the human behavior between his ends, what how he's going to satisfy his want, and scarce means are nothing but resources. What do we mean by scarce means? This is nothing but resources. So this thing scarce means is actually resources. Let me just write here. It refers to use of resources. So how a man going to behave between these two things finally, like he has resources which has alternate uses, and then he has to satisfy his wants. So between these two things, how the man is going to behave, that's all economics. Like we have resources, we have some family monthly income of 50,000 rupees, and these are all our wants of all the family members, and how we are going to allocate those 50,000 rupees to satisfy our wants, that's all economics. So it is the science which studies the human behavior as a relation between ends and scarce means. Scarce means are nothing but resources which have alternate uses. So this definition was actually given by Robbins in his book on an essay on the nature and significance of economic science, published in 1932. So you don't need to go into the detail, just go to the definition, whatever is highlighted, that only you have to write. You don't need to know anything else regarding this, because we have already discussed all these concepts in much detail in microeconomics. This we have already taken, scarcity, root cause and all. Okay, last definition is given by Professor Samuelson. He is Professor Anthony Samuelson. We have read a lot of articles written by Samuelson in our graduation while I was doing my economics honors. I had read a lot of articles written by him. It was there as a part of our curriculum. So he's also a very, the articles, they are very prominent. They are renowned articles. They are very eminent, written by all these people. Let us see how he defines economics. Economics is the study of how man and society choose, with or without the use of money, to employ scarce productive resources. Again, it is saying the same thing. How we are going to, use our scarce productive resources, which could have alternate uses, to produce various commodities over time and distribute them for consumption now and in the future among various people and groups of society. Though this definition is a big, it's a bit long, but it says the same thing which we have been, saying in all these learning in all these classes, that how we are going to use employer scarce resources which could have alternate uses to produce commodities over time and to satisfy people's wants, and not just for a particular family but for the entire group, entire society. So that's how Samuelson defines economics. So these four definitions of economics you'll be writing. I'll send you this in the group, this PDF, so that you can refer to it for making your notes. So you just have to write these four definitions. First we did was wealth definition by Adam Smith. That is, economics is the science of wealth. That's how Adam Smith defines economics. Second definition we did by Alfred Marshall, which is welfare definition. That's how the man behaves in the ordinary business of life. Third is scarcity definition by Robbins. You better learn this. If any definition asks, you write this. Economics is the science which studies human behavior as relationship between ends and scarce means, which could have alternate uses. And fourth definition is regarding growth oriented definition. This leads to actually growth in the country. If all this happens rightly, this will lead to growth. So these are the four definitions by all these four economists, and that's how you can define economics. Next topic is economic and non-economic activities. You must have read about this in your previous classes as well. We have all the activities, all human activities can broadly be divided into two categories. First is economic activities and next is non-economic activities. Okay, any activity which are undertaken to earn a living. For example, any worker working in a factory, shopkeeper selling goods in his shop, doctor attending to patients in his clinic, teacher teaching his students. All these activities are economic activities. Okay, you just have to write the definition and examples, nothing else. Any two examples and definition. You don't need to write all these details. No need to write, just skip all this. And this we had already done in the first class for stats. Non-economic activities, activities which are not concerned with the creation of money or wealth, like their purpose is not to derive any living out of those activities, but they are just taken, out of affection, out of sympathy, out of sentiments, out of patriotism, religious activities. All these purposes, when we solve out of some activity, it is known as non-economic activity. For example, housewife cooking food for her family, or maybe a father cooking food for his kids, or a teacher teaching her own son, like that. So here, from here, you can write the types of non-economic activities. It can be charitable activities like blood donation camps and all. It is not conducted to create money, but to help the society. It is just for charity. Free education, if you're providing to needy students, that's non-economic. Social activities like get together, attending parties, these are all non-economic activities. Political activities performed by different political parties. Religious activities like praying to God. Although you might be praying that I want more money, God, please give me a lot of money and all those things. But still, it is a non-economic activity as it is not concerned with creation of money. But maybe we feel good when we pray to God. So these are all non-economic activities, and actually Sandeep Garg has divided the first chapter, introduction, into in NCERT it is this one chapter. Sandeep Garg has this book has divided the first chapter into very two small chapters. So the first chapter in Sandeep Garg was dealing with only these topics, the four definitions of economics and economic and non-economic activity. Just like this question at the end of the chapter asks, classify the following activities into economic and non-economic. So somebody cooking food for her family, non-economic. Person selling cold drinks on the station, obviously it is going to create money. Studying, a student praying in economic. Student praying in temple for good marks, non-economic. Doctor treating patients, economic. Old lady attending satsang, non-economic. Religious activities there. A person teaching his daughter for her board exams, it is non-economic again. So this was all about chapter 1 of Sandeep Garg. We don't, there is, it was very general, nothing much to explain here. Okay, next we'll be taking actually the meaning of statistics and all finally. So in the chapter 2, it is given meaning, scope and importance of statistics. We are actually going to take the meaning of statistics, how we define statistics. Functions we are not going to take in the syllabus. Importance of statistics we will be discussing, and limitations. So before actually, jumping on to the meaning of statistics, let us first have a brief introduction on statistics. What is statistics? How the word was derived and everything. So it seems to have been derived from the Latin word status, or the Italian word statista, or the German word statistic, or the Greek word statistique, each of which means a political state. The word stats conveys just for a short form, I call the word statistics as stats. So the word stats conveys different meanings to different people. Some people regard it as data, facts, or measurements. Others believe it to be the study of figures. And for example, for a cricket fan, what is statistics? It refers to numerical information or data relating to runs scored by a cricketer. For an environmentalist, it is the quantity of population or other harmful gases in the atmosphere. For the weather department, it is information about minimum and maximum temperature every day, timings of sunrise, sunsets, etc. For a share broker, it is the information on changes in share prices over a period of years, over a period of days, for a period of over a period of months, anytime, and so on. So for different people, statistics is perceived differently. Okay, it includes a column of figures, various types of graphs, tables, charts showing the changes in different types of data, and all those things. Similarly, in the present time, statistics is not only a science of state, but it also includes all types of quantitative analysis. If we go to the meaning of statistics, why statistics is important, um, just see this. If we analyze the hardships of poverty, we try to explain it in terms, this is your NCRT actually, we try to explain it in the terms of various factors. Like I tell you, India is suffering from dense poverty and all those things, but then you actually need numbers to have the authenticity of my statement. And to measure poverty, we see a lot of factors. We see unemployment, we see low productivity of people, backward technology, etc. All these things we see. That is why statistics is important to study economics concepts. Similarly, then only we can find ways to mitigate it. We know that India is suffering from 21.9% people who are below poverty line. So we are actually, approximately, or maybe some, with some sources it is also determined that half, one-fourth of the population is suffering from poverty and all those things. So then only we can find ways to mitigate the problem. Mitigate means to reduce it. So in economics, such measures, then whatever ways we try to mitigate the problem, those measures will be known as policies. So no analysis of any problem would be possible without the availability of data, and no policies can be formulated in that situation to solve it. So to understand the basic relationship, now I hope you understand whatever economic problems we need to deal with, we actually need to have statistics. So what is statistics? Statistics, see, we usually define statistics using two meanings actually. In our daily language, the word statistics is used in two distinct senses. One is singular and one is plural. In the plural sense, okay, in exam also you might be asked what is the singular definition of statistics and what is the plural definition of statistics. So you just write the heading what is statistics now, and whatever I'm highlighting, just write that. Statistics is used in two distinct senses. One is singular and the other is plural. Okay, in plural sense, this is how we define statistics. Statistics means numerical facts systematically collected. That's the plural definition of statistics. Or you can also simply, if we just call it, it means actually data. The most ordinary meaning of statistics is statistics in its plural sense. Okay, whenever I say statistics, you will also have this thing only in your mind that something we are going to deal with data. So in the plural sense, it means numerical facts systematically collected. Systematically collected, that we will see in the how what is the system behind all the behind the collection of numerical facts, that we will see in the singular definition. But for plural definition, you just see this: statistics means numerical facts systematically collected. So just write this definition, and after this just write the simple meaning of statistics in plural sense is data. Now, in singular sense, what it means? The term statistics in singular sense means the science of collecting, classifying, and using statistics. It is actually collecting, classifying, presenting, and interpreting the data. See, this data, whatever we refer to statistics in plural sense, the science behind this data, the science behind how we finally use the data is the meaning of statistics in singular sense. I give you a better definition here. Write this one. In in singular sense, statistics deal with the collection, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of the quantitative information. And this is how the further chapters are going to be in statistics. Like after introduction, first we'll be doing collection of data, then we will be doing organization of data. So you just add one more step here. Just add here one step. After collection, just write here classifying or classification, then presentation, analysis, and interpretation of the quantitative information. Whatever data we have collected, first we will be classifying it, then we'll be presenting it, and then we'll be analyzing the entire data. What is the average of it, what is the highest, what is the number which is occurring the most number of times, all those mean, median, and more things. And finally we are going to interpret the results of the quantitative information we have made use of. So this is statistics in singular sense. So you are going to know now, you actually know two meanings of statistics in two different senses. One is in the plural sense and the other is in the singular sense. In plural sense, it means collection of numerical facts or numerical facts systematically collected, or simply data. In singular sense, it deals with collection, classification, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of the quantitative information. So that's how we define statistics in two senses. Okay, all these pages, statistics as numerical set of data, we don't have to do these details. We only have to do, all those who have books, they can simply cut these pages. They are not included. So this is, again, all these things we are not going to take in the chapter. Only this much, the definition. So collection is stage 1, then organization is stage 2, presentation of data is stage 3, analysis of data is stage 4, and interpretation of data is stage 5. These are the various stages of our statistical study which we are going to take in the chapter. You don't have to write any details as of now in this chapter. No singular versus plural. Next topic after meaning of statistics in singular and plural sense is actually functions of statistics. What statistics does is basically functions of statistics. So this is the first function of statistics: to present the economic facts in a precise and definite form. So statistics provides better meaning to our economic statements. Let us see how. You'll be writing the functions of statistics in complete detail. Like you'll be giving the heading, the subheading of the point, and explaining the point using examples. That's how we are doing it. Let us just see. Okay, when economic facts are just write the explanation of the point from here. When economic facts are expressed in statistical terms, they become exact. For example, saying that with precise figures, 310 people died in the recent earthquake in Kashmir is more factual and thus a statistical data, whereas saying hundreds of people died is not. So, if I say that coronavirus is really a fatal disease, it has taken a lot of lives of the people. So, a lot of lives is a very vague statement. It is not giving it a precise meaning. So, saying it with using the figures that it 1,000 people have died in India because of this disease, and the number of people died in different states are this much and this much. So giving the numbers to support our statement gives that a right meaning, as compared to saying those statements with no numbers. So if I say there was an earthquake in Kashmir which has taken a lot of lives, that is a very vague statement that hundreds of people died in Kashmir earthquake. Whereas saying like this, 310 people died in the recent earthquake in Kashmir, that is more factual. So exact facts, they are more convincing than vague statements. So that's the first function of statistics. You'll write all the functions with an example. So this is how the first function, to present economic facts in a precise and definite form. So that's how statistics helps us. It presents all the economic facts in a precise form. Taking the second function, it helps in condensing the mass of data into a few numerical measures such as mean, variance, etc. about which we'll such as mean, variance, etc. You just write in here. So this is the second function. It condenses the mass of data. That is, to condenses it is means to put it shortly, to give it a summarized form, to give it a brief form. That's how we mean by the word condenses. So it condenses the mass of data into a few numerical measures. How? Just see the example, and these numerical measures will help to summarize the data. For example, it would be impossible for us to remember the incomes of all the people in a data if the number of people is very large. Let us suppose I want to know uh, how much income people earn in Karol Bagh area, and it is impossible for me to keep remembering, keep it just to remember the incomes of everybody living in Karol Bagh. It is just impossible. So what I'll do is I'll select some people randomly. I'll take a nice data. I'll just conduct one survey with them, in which they are asked to reveal their incomes and all those things, and then I'll try to classify the data. I'll present it in some form, like I'll conduct the entire statistics to do all those things, and statistics will be providing me with one average figure. I'll divide all those numbers with the number of people living in Karol Bagh, and then I can easily remember one summary figure like the average income that is obtained statistically. In this way, statistics summarizes and presents a meaningful information about a mass of data. So that's the second function of statistics. Just write this much. It helps in condensing the mass of data into a few numerical measures such as mean, variance, etc. These numerical measures help summarize the data. For example, take down the example that it is impossible to remember the incomes of all the people of a certain area. So one can easily remember a summary figure like the average income that is obtained statistically. So if I say on an average people in Karol Bagh earn 55,000 per month, so that is easy to remember. Instead of remembering all the incomes of everybody living in Karol Bagh. So statistics summarizes the data. It gives a summary figure to just give a better meaning, full information about the overall data. So that's the second function. Third function, statistics is used in finding relationships between different economic factors. Very important point. See, using statistics only, I can say that if temperature rises, sale of ice creams rises, because maybe I'll be conducting one survey every just two, maybe every day of the week, and I'm observing a pattern in the temperature as well as I'm observing a pattern in the sales of ice creams also. And I realized from March to May, let us suppose the temperature was gradually rising, and I was conducting my survey with 5 ice cream sellers, and they all told me, they were all giving me their everyday sales. I was tracking, I was keeping a record of all those things, and with the help of the entire stats I collected and I analyzed, I could conclude that gradually when the temperature started rising, let us suppose in Delhi, the sale of ice creams also started rising. And then I can say that there is a direct relationship between temperature and sale of ice creams. I told you what do we mean by direct relation. Direct relation means whenever the change in two things is in the same direction, like one is rising so the other is also rising, and if one is falling so the other is also falling, that relation we call direct relation. So it is with the help of statistics that we are able to find relationships between different economic factors. For example, see, let us suppose we will be interested in finding out what happens to the demand for a commodity when its price increases, or maybe what happens to the supply when there is a change in the price, or do people spend more when their average income increases, or what happens to the general price level when the government expenditure increases. Such questions can only be answered if there exists, oh my god, if any relationship exists between these various economic factors. Whether such relationships exist or not can be easily verified by applying statistical methods to their data. You just write the heading first, like statistics helps us in finding relationships between different economic factors. Just after this, you just straight away come to this line, whether such relationships exist or not. It can be easily verified by applying statistical methods to their data. And then you write example. For example, to find out the relation between demand and price and demand, it is important that we conduct statistics. In some cases, the economists might assume certain relationships between them, and they like to test whether the assumption they made is valid about the relationship or not. The economist can do so only by using statistical techniques. So you can write any 2-3 example, like direct relation between, say, a temperature and sale of ice creams. Then maybe direct relationship between income and expenditure. As our income rises, our expenditure rises. Indirect relation between price and demand. When price of a good rises, we demand it less. Like if price of apples rises, the demand for apples will go down. So then you just give this example. Okay. Fourth function of statistic is it predicts the change in one economic factor due to the change in another factor. For example, a person might be interested in knowing the impact of today's investment on the national income in future, or maybe on his own income in future. Like, I'm maybe I have got some extra money with myself and I want to save it. I'll study the market, share market and all. Maybe I want to invest it in the share market and all those things. So for that, I want to predict like what is going to be my future income if I make 50,000 investment in this particular share. So with and how can I do so? How can I predict which share I am going to invest and all those things? I'm actually going to study the behavior of all the shares in the share market for maybe for the past 3-4 years, or maybe for the past 10 years, how these shares have behaved. Had they been much volatile means the price was increasing and then falling and then increasing and falling, then I would not invest in such a share. But if they were stable, then I would invest. So that's what the fourth function says. To predict the change in one economic factor due to the change in another factor, we need statistics. Impact of today's investment on the national income in future, we need statistics. Such an exercise cannot be undertaken without the knowledge of statistics. So that's all for today. Just write all these 4 functions of statistics in your register. The functions we covered were that it gives a precise and definite form to our economic statements. Second, it condenses the data into a summarized form. Third, it helps us to find relationship between any two economic factors. And fourth is this one, that it is able to predict the change in one factor due to the change in another factor. You can apply it to rain and production also. With the help of statistics, we can predict if there is this much rain in this particular state, in this particular area, then what would be the production of wheat or production of rice in that same state. So that we can do with the help of previous data, previous numbers we had collected. So all this can be only possible with by applying statistical techniques. And with statistical techniques, we mean all those 5 stages: collection, organization, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. For the next class, we'll be continuing with the functions and the other limitations of statistics. Till then, just complete all your work. Take care. God bless you all. Thank you so much.